What if I told you that one of the most underrated stories in rock music isn't about a legendary album or a chart-topping hit, but about a band that almost changed everything for Tom Petty? Let me tell you why this feels like one of those hidden gems that only superfans know about, and why it might actually redefine how we think about Petty's legacy. You know Tom Petty as the guy who wrote American Girl, the guy who played guitar solos with Prince, the guy who was basically a rock god by the 2000s. But here's a wild thought: what if his most authentic work wasn't with the Heartbreakers, but with this other band he formed decades earlier? I'm talking about Mudcrutch, the group that almost got him a record deal before he even became a household name. And now, years later, he's finally giving them the chance they never got back in 2008 with this album that feels like a time machine to his roots. Let me break this down. Petty's career has always been this weird mix of consistency and contradiction. On one hand, he's this reliable songwriter who never made a bad album, unlike some of his peers who had disasters like Metallica's Saint Anger or The Clash's Cut the Crap. But on the other hand, he's this guy who's always been haunted by the same question: what if? What if he'd stayed with Mudcrutch instead of joining the Heartbreakers? What if he'd taken more risks instead of playing it safe? This album feels like his answer to that question. Now, I know what you're thinking. But Tom Petty's a legend. Why would he waste time on a side project? And honestly, I get it. Most artists would never go back to their early days, especially when they're already on top. But here's the thing: Petty wasn't just revisiting the past, he was trying to recapture that raw, unfiltered energy he had when he was just starting out. And man, does it show. Tracks like Crystal River aren't just songs, they're time capsules of a band rediscovering their sound, stretching out, playing with bluegrass influences, and just having fun in the studio. It's the kind of vibe you don't hear in most modern rock albums, which are so polished they feel like they were recorded in a lab. What makes this really interesting is how it contrasts with his later work. Think about it. By the 2000s, Petty was this seasoned veteran, playing huge shows, collaborating with Jeff Lynne, even appearing on the Super Bowl. But here he is, going back to the basics, working with the same guys he started with, and making music that feels like it was recorded in a garage. It's almost like he's saying, I've had all this success, but none of it matters if I'm not being true to who I am. And I think that's why this album resonates so deeply. It's not just a nostalgic trip for Petty, it's a reminder that authenticity is what keeps artists relevant. But here's the kicker: this album wasn't a massive hit. And honestly, that's what makes it so fascinating. In an industry where everything has to be a blockbuster, it's rare to see an artist prioritize artistic fulfillment over commercial success. Petty didn't need the hits anymore, he just wanted to make music that felt right. And if you listen closely, you can hear that in every note. It's not perfect, but it's real. It's messy. It's human. And in a world where so much music feels calculated, that's what makes it stand out. So the next time you hear someone talk about Tom Petty's greatest work, don't just think about American Girl or Free Falling. Think about this 2008 album, the one that almost changed everything. Because in the end, it's not about the hits, it's about the moments when an artist dares to go back to their roots and reminds us why they became legends in the first place.